Welcome to aminacademy.com. In IB Diploma Mathematics, let us discuss about some solving problem regarding domain and range. Here, look at these figures. For each of the graph, find the domain and range. Look at here, first graph. This is always keep it horizontal is x-axis, this y is vertical axis. Now, first domain is x can be greater than or equal to -2. Domain is x is such that x is greater than or equal to -2 and x is an element of R. What do you mean? That x can be take any value greater than or equal to -2 and the range is the y value. Range is x is y is lesser or equal to because y is can be y is going down, that is y is such that y is lesser or equal to 5 and y is an element of R. This is the first. Second one, here two limits is there. Domain is x is such that x have two values here. Greater than -1 because it's a whole, it's -1 is not included, and lesser or equal to 5 because it is 5 is included here. It's a dot, thick dot, and same x is an element of R. The range here for the second one range is same y is such that y is greater than 2, y is greater than 2 and lesser or equal to 5 and y is an element of R. Look at here, y value is from here, y value is lesser or equal to 2 and it increases up to y value is here, y value is lesser greater 2 and lesser or equal to 5 because it's a thick dot. And look at this here, third one, your domain x is such that s is not equal to 3 and x is an element of R. Range is y is such that y is not equal to -3 and y is an element of R. Look at here. Here, this is asymptotes. That means this graph never touch this horizontal line and it never touch vertical line. So, it like. Next question. Look at here. Domain is x is such that x is lesser x is lesser than x is lesser than or equal to 0, because this line, this here x value is here x is an element of, here x can take any values. So x is an, so that x is an element of R. Then range, range is, that's y value is the range. Here y is such that y is lesser or equal to 3. Look at this one. Here x value is, x is element of R, because x can take any values, that is domain. X is such that x is an element of R, no restriction. Range, look at the range, x can take more than -2. Y is such that y is greater or equal to -2, and y is an element of R, because y can take more than 2 and more than 2. Here domain is, x is such that x is an element of R, any value of x, and y, the range y value is, y is such that y is lesser or equal to 4, because y can take 4 and lesser than 4 values, and y is an element of R. Next one, look at this figure. Here x can take from -5 to, that is domain, x is such that x is greater or equal to -5, and x value can take any values from -5, that is x is greater than, x is greater than or equal to -5, and x is an element of R. Then domain, we can write this like x is greater than or equal to -5, because this is a thick dot, equal comes, and the range y value can take, y is such that y is greater than or equal to -6, because y value take discontinuation line, and y is an element of R. Then look this, here x is domain, x is such that x is not equal to, x is not equal to not equal to, x is This will not come. Domain is here. X taken any value. See. X is such that X is an element of R. Then range Y value, that is Y is such that Y is not equal to minus 3 because it's asymptote. That is this line never touch Y is minus 3. Minus 3 and Y is an element of R. Look at this last one. Here domain X is such that X is not equal to plus or minus 2. So this graph never touch X equal to minus 2 and never touch X equal to positive 2. Then X is an element of R except plus or minus 2. And the range is Y is such that Y is lesser or equal to minus 1 because this Y is lesser or equal to minus 1 or Y is greater 0 and Y is an element of R. That means Y value is greater than 0 and Y is lesser than or equal to minus 1. That means this here this x-axis is a asymptote of this graph and here y equal to x equal to minus 2 is the asymptote of this. Now so far we discussed about domain and range of the sum graph. Now further some examples we'll do. Look at here. For each of the following functions state the value of x, f of x is undefined. Look at here. Example y equal square root of x plus 5. What do you mean that? Here, if you put x equal to 0, that is 0 plus 5 is 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, like we can give for x, and x equal to minus 5, if you give minus 5 plus 5 is 0, then x is minus 6 because square root of minus 6 is not defined. Therefore, here x equal to lesser or equal to minus 5, the graph is not defined. Graph is not defined because if you give more than, that is less than minus 5, that is minus 5, if you give it's not equal, greater only, lesser only, x is lesser than minus 5. Suppose minus 6, if you give minus 6 plus 5 is minus 1, it is not defined. Under the root of minus value is not defined. So x is lesser than minus 5, the graph is not defined. One more, y equal that is what you call f of x, that is 1 over x square. Here the graph is not defined when x equal to 0. The graph is not defined at x equal to 0. That means if you put 0, 1 by 0 is infinity. So it's not defined. Then one more you can do in terms of f of x. F of x equal to 1 over x plus 3. Here if you put graph is not defined when x equal to minus 3. Since minus 3 plus 3 is 0, then if it is 1 over 0 is not defined. Other value of x is minus 3, the graph is defined. Now next is find the domain and range. Find the domain and range of f of x equal 3x plus 2. Here domain is x is such that x is an element of R because all values of x possible. The range also same, y is such that y is an element of R. Any value you can give, no restriction. Then next is f of x equal square root of 5 minus x. So domain is x is such that x is lesser or equal to 5. If you give 5, square root of 5 minus 5, that is 0 is possible. If you give 6, 5 minus 6 is minus 1, so it's not possible. Square root of minus number is not there having domain. That range is y value, y is such that y is an greater than or equal to 0, positive. Y is greater than 0. So then y is an element of R. Like that we can solve different problems. So far we discussed about domain and range of some graphs and as well as some problems. We have done. Please subscribe our YouTube channel.